My name is Logan Wilcox. I'm with the security team here at AHEAD, and today we wanted to show you our security orchestration and automation response demo with CarbonBlack Defense, Splunk, and ServiceNow. So when we enter the CarbonBlack Management Console, we're presented with a dashboard that has different information on some of the alerts in our environment. And we can scroll down here and look at different numbers, and we can see here the top alerted devices that have been seen by the Management Console. And from here, we're going to click on this device and use it as an example. When we get into this area with the alerts, we can see what kind of alerts have been triggered on this device specifically, along with different information about their severity and the nature of the incident. We can modify these parameters, and we'll be presented with a different view of the alerts. And when we expand each of these, we can see which behaviors were detected by CarbonBlack and why an alert was triggered for that incident. And what determines this is the policy that's set on the device. And if we want to take a look at that, we can go into Enforce, click on Policies, and we'll use our quarantine policy as an example. If we go over to Prevention, we can look at the different parameters that have been set and which behaviors will trigger different actions in CarbonBlack, like a deny operation, a terminate process, or a complete stop. And as these alerts are detected in CarbonBlack, Splunk is monitoring this console and will import any new alerts. So from here, we can go into Splunk, and when we get into Splunk, we're presented with a dashboard that offers users a more detailed view of what's been happening in their environment. We can see which devices have been alerted the most, what kind of threats are seen most often, what applications are seen most often, and a number of different statistics. We also have access to a live feed of different alerts that have been imported from CarbonBlack into Splunk. And we can see this is our device from our example. If we copy this, we can scroll down here and we can correlate with different data in our Splunk interface. So here we can see that for this device, it's missing a Windows patch. And we can use, this data comes from vulnerability scanners like Nessus, Qualys, or whatever you may be using. And this can allow us to determine what allowed the malware infection to happen and how we can prevent it in the future. We can also access information on different alerts from the search. And here we can see all the different alerts that are associated with our example device. If we want to, we can save this as an alert. And what this will allow us to do is send specific events into ServiceNow based on different parameters, like the severity of the incident, the threat level, and whatever you would like to specify. And from there, I'll pass it on to Mayur and he can show you the ServiceNow side.
So now I'm in ServiceNow, and this is an incident record that was created based on the payload that we saw coming in from Splunk. So in ServiceNow, the data that gets pushed into ServiceNow creates a security incident record that gets assigned to appropriate fulfillment group for them to kind of look into and assess what this event has triggered. What we do from Splunk is carry over some of the attributes that came over from Splunk and map them into ServiceNow fields, so the team that is looking into the event or this incident will be able to have the information that's needed to assess and review the ticket based on the properties and values that are coming in. As you can see here are some of the attributes that we are pulling into ServiceNow, coming in from the data that was triggered from CarbonBlack to Splunk and pulled into ServiceNow. Something that we've also wanted to proactively do is assess and react to a potential threat that can cause damage to us as a corporation or our environment itself. So one of the data attributes that Splunk passes over to ServiceNow is a threat score. And based on the threat score, we're able to move our device into certain policies to avoid having that device be still connected to the network and still potentially cause additional harm to either the device itself or breach within our environment. So threat score coming in from Splunk ranges from a score of 1 to 10, 1 being the lightest, potentially no threat, through 10 being the highest level of threat. So for example, this coming in as a threat level of 9, as you can see, has this device moved into a quarantine policy in CarbonBlack. So when the ticket comes into ServiceNow, Based on what value this is, we will automatically put this device into a specific CarbonBlack policy just to mitigate any kind of damages that could have happened throughout the creation of the event until it came to ServiceNow. Something that we're also doing from ServiceNow is kind of having the ability to reassess the ticket and the threat and kind of updating and moving into the policy that applies. So for example, let's say after reviewing this ticket, we actually come to find that, hey, this is an actual threat, and this is something that, we actually need to access. We can go back in here and go to a no policy change or a heightened security change, allowing our device to be moved into a different policy within CarbonBlack, restoring some of the connectivity that we kind of removed originally based on the threat sort that's coming in. And this is done by simply clicking on or selecting the new policy that we want our device to be moved into. So let's say, for example, we want to go to heightened security instead of the quarantine policy. We will come in here and save the record based on what policy we would like. And what will happen is details will get added to this incident with the updated information for moving it into a heightened security policy. So this is the message that we get back, and here you'll be able to see the success response and also what security policy that we have placed this device into. From here, we're going to go back to the Splunk side in CarbonBlack, and Logan will show you what the device looks like now.
So if we go back into CarbonBlack, we can see that our device has instantly been placed into our heightened security policy. And if we take a look at that policy, basically what it does is it has a stricter set of rules that will prevent any kind of malicious or potentially malicious activity from taking place on that device. So if it's known malware, if it's on the company blacklist, or if it has any of these types of behaviors, it will be instantly terminated. And that's going to prevent any kind of malicious code or malware or anything from causing further damage in your environment or spreading throughout your network.